Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Plane Camp episode. Today in English and with the lovely Nihal Kindy, which is an amazing expert, and I love so much all the work that she is doing around embodiment and wellness, and especially because she's combining many different kind of practices, from breathwork to kinesiology to somatic practices, and she's focused on the family, right? So now we are not only focused on individuals, but on community, which is so much related with Plane Camp, especially the relationship between the parents and the kids, and then going beyond into the schools and how to tap into the gifts of each individual in the family, how to nurture those and develop fruitful, thriving families. And I love so much the vision that we are here for a treat. We are going to learn so much today about how can we become better sons, better children, and better parents at the same time, and how to participate in the building of these positive, thriving communities. Thank you so much, Nihali, for being here today with us.
Thank you, Carlos. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice, Nihal. So yeah, let's start with what is all this about? What's embodiment?
Right. Okay, perfect. So I had a vision. I remember when I was trying to figure out what embodiment was, and I had gone to an event. And after that event, I felt very much connected to myself. And that was the first idea of what is embodiment. It was the connection, what I felt was the connection of myself with my whole body, who I was. I felt all ownership of who I was. I felt the freedom to express myself, the freedom to see my vision, to own my vision. And to me, that freedom was the coin of why I do what I do. And my dream, my passion is to see people feel free to express themselves. And that's what embodiment is. Really, to me, embodiment is just coming to really know yourself, who you are, what your vision is, and really coming in full support. And it encompasses so many things, from the body to the mind, and so much work that we put together, all to connect us into our truth, what our purpose is, what our gifts are, how we can share them, how we can enjoy them in life. So that's in a snippet what embodiment is and why I've dedicated my whole work to this, to help people get there.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so important that within the world of self-development, we both are there. There is so much, like I call it mental masturbation sometimes. It's like so many practices on the mind, and we forget so much about how to put these practices on the body, how to embody that version that we want to become. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we could sit there and do a million self-development programs. You and I, many of us have been doing this. But I always say that it's the integration. If it's not integrated, if the learning is not integrated into the body on a somatic level inside ourselves, then we're not actually really improving and serving at the highest and being the highest. It's the integration process that is part of what I consider also embodiment, is when we take the knowledge and we take the somatic work, we take the body, we look at the body, we move this, we integrate so many different, there are so many different ways of integrating, and integration is, and support to help us integrate. But it's when you are not thinking here, when you now act what you learned, when you now think in the way you learned, and your whole way of being is different and is in line with the learnings, as opposed to regurgitating something from the memory. And one thing that I actually very, very fond of, and I always say is that, and I believe in this, it's the biggest impact comes from our transmission, our being, more than the words we speak. And I don't know, for some of you that follow the Gene Keys at all, and Richard Rudd, he speaks of this. It's our transmission. It's us simply by being what we have learned, embodying it. And you can shift somebody without words. You can transmit the growth just by your being, the way you are, the way you handle life. And so the integration and embodying our knowledge is just crucial. Otherwise, everything you're learning is you could even forget about it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And especially I love the fact of not using the words, because it's something that we do during the plane camp experience, like how you can be and transmit, yeah, from a state of presence, and I mean it becomes really energy and spiritual here, like how we transmit different type of energy by what we are and how people perceive us. So then, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the beauty of play camp is you're not just there's that aspect of you're not using words, you're using your body, but I think at the same time as transmitting, it's also a form of integrating, not just integrating your knowledge, but now you're integrating all these other people that you're playing with and their knowledge, and it's like you're sharing without words, and a lot more fun than sitting down in a seminar.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, go on. But
So good.
yeah.
So getting more for someone that hasn't have a lot of experience with embodiment, what could be one or two practices that you would recommend to start with?
Oh wow, there's so many. So there's a lot in it. I think one of the benefits of a lot is that anybody can find something they're interested in. But really some of the somatic breath work is a very common one, but it is one of the main ones, one of the most powerful. But even embodied movement, dance, and movement can be different. We can have dance, we can have stretching, we can have even like shaking, like any type of movement. And so there's different ways. A lot of the somatic work is movement based, breath work, like really working with the body. So yeah, just something for everybody. And I think, Carlos, honestly, I think a lot of what you have in play camp could totally be used. And it's what I like is that it's very unique from many other people working with in somatic work. It's like it has its own different style. It's playful, it's light, but yeah, a lot of what you're doing too. Anything where the soul is being expressed in movement. In it, we go into our movement. We're not thinking, we're now playing. We're now dancing with our soul, right? Ecstatic dance. This is when it turns into embodiment. This is when it turns into embodied movement. It turns into that somatic work, that deep integration.
Yeah. Wow, I love it. The soul being expressed is so good, so well said. And you're right, Nihal. I'm just keeping it low, I offer play camp like a fun experience to join people together. But indeed, like considering my background on dance, on theater, there is so many of these exercises of connecting us with our emotions, connecting us with our instinct impulses and letting them go, letting them manifest. So yeah, totally. And I in many occasions I just hold the space, so I facilitate the experience so people can connect with their own impulse of what do I want to do now? How do my soul want to be expressed in the moment? And yeah, for some people it's singing or dancing or high-fiving, whatever. And shaking is something that I almost always try to do to help people let go and relax and be more present in the moment. Yeah, definitely.
Very powerful.
Love it. And now let's switch to relationships among people and how embodiment, what we were speaking, like how embodiment can help relationships or can help people communicate with each other or be present with each other.
Right. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's such a important topic in today's world. And I'm going to extend this as I start to speak. I'm going to extend this to beyond just our relationships as adults. Coming from a place where I work with kids and families, this is very much applicable to how children have relationships with each other and how adults and children relate to each other. And I think one of the first pivotal benefits of embodiment is when we are connected to who we are more and we come into greater confidence, we can speak our truth more. Not just speak our truth, but one of the biggest things is being aware. when we do this embodiment work, we do somatic work, we're more aware of what's actually happening in our bodies. What do we actually need? How are we really feeling? And this is so powerful, not just for relationships, but even imagine children who have very limited ways of expressing themselves. Now, if it benefits children, you can imagine it benefits it also. Like if it's benefiting adults, we're learning how to speak better. It significantly benefits kids. But then you come into, this is where relationship comes in. If I understand what I need more, and I'm more confident through these embodiment practices, now not only can I communicate to other people what I need, but I can also communicate it in a confident, less reactive and defensive way. You know, how do I feel around you? What is it that I need right now? And maybe how are you making me feel? When you're doing these movements, a lot of it, like you said, a lot of feelings come through and get expressed. And we'd have to feel those to express them. So when we start to learn what that feels, we can now pin it more. There's a lot of people that sometimes are unconscious of what they're actually feeling or why they're feeling it. And these practices, when we come out of the mind and we're moving, we're in the body, we're no longer trying to box that emotion in what we think it is or why or who. We're just simply saying, feeling, this is how I feel, you know? And so with relationships, I think if we can communicate our needs better, and if we can be in a place where we are more calm, the nervous system is calm after embodiments. With embodiment practices, the nervous system is also calm. You're confident, but your nervous system is more relaxed. So if you can communicate that way, where you're clear on what it is you actually want to communicate, you're communicating in a calm manner, and you are more confident. I mean, it goes without saying. And if the other person has also practiced the embodiment practice and they're in the same place, then there's a beautiful harmony that comes, right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So what I'm understanding is, thanks to embodiment practices, people can listen better to themselves, be more aware of what's going on in themselves, even accepting more themselves, and from that point, start observing other people without projecting the judgment that they have on others.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. And then definitely it will reduce conflict. And I guess it will increase empathy also. Like, okay, help me understand what's going on you right now, without this thing of, you're getting angry because you said this, or you see this thing. So it's more like coming from a place of understanding.
Right. So you're less defensive, you're less reactive. And I think I want to mention something actually that's really big here. And Joe Dispenza speaks about this a lot. I love Joe Dispenza, but it's the concept that you cannot see possibilities or solutions. And let's bring it to relationships here now. If there's conflict, if there's something that's bothering you about the other person, it's very difficult to see it clear in a really constructive manner in terms of possibility. When you are in the same nervous state, like the same body state, right? You know, we call it like your vibration, but basically it's like if you're in a set energy of frustration or anger, the solutions you're going to think of are probably going to be more revengeful, more angry, right? And so when your nervous system is more calm and your whole vibration is higher, your ability to see more constructive and more fruitful solutions is actually opened up, right? So that's key to relationships there.
Yeah. I love it because, as I'm understanding, like, thanks to embodiment practices, we manage better our emotional responses or reactions. We can communicate better, and we orient ourselves towards the solution of problems. So then, let's move a bit. We will come back to the family, 100%. But let's go first to the institutions, like organizations, work environment, because that's the transition I'm making with the Playing Camp for now, or at least one of my focuses. How could embodiment practices help organizations, work, teamwork, and companies?
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? I mean, beyond just what we said about relationships, right? You know, work relationships, but imagine getting to play for half an hour in the middle of your stressful, boring work day. I mean, not everyone will say they're bored, but still you're in, and for many people, you're in the mind, right? You're here. So you have a total mental break like from the mind into the body. And what's also happening is that the body and the mind are coming into coherence, right? They're coming together. Now you're more as a unit, as a single person, you're more whole, you're functioning better. The energy is moving through your body better. Just the way the blood is flowing, everything is flowing differently. Naturally, there's more energy in your brain, and you've had that break. And I think many of us have experienced when we're trying to solve a problem or we're using our brain, overusing, and we hit a block, right? So here's like a really big thing. You hit a block, take a break, go take a nap even, something that gets you out of your mind. You come back and suddenly the solution is in front of you, right? And suddenly it's so much easier. So imagine we put something like PlayCam or any other embodiment practice where you're really coming to the body. Not only are we getting all the benefits that we mentioned in terms of relationship, in terms of integration, growth, but even the break of being more productive at work, seeing better solutions, being nicer to your coworkers, being able to handle your boss's demands without all the reactions or stress. Just creating an environment in the organization that is, imagine playful, light, humorous, less stress. Like, who doesn't want to work in an environment like that?
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. Is what we speak the same language, because even in my imagination, I imagine like, I've been speaking with many people these days, and similar topics appear, like when people get into this block, right? Like the mind gets blocked and nothing comes out, productivity drops. And for me, the vision is like if they had like one room, like the play camp room, full of plants and different like music instruments or different things to play and such. It's like, come on, you just go there, and instead of watching at your phone and then get drained all your attention and all your imagination, just suddenly like disconnect totally and can have fun with your body, being creative.
Yeah. And I've experienced this so much. Have you ever experienced where you think you need to be productive and you push and you push and you push and it's not working. But then the day that you take the break, it's not just do the ideas come like we just said, but sometimes the ideas buy you so much more time than the amount of time you took off. Yeah. Suddenly you've like leaped. Your ideas, your solutions have saved weeks of what had you been like sitting there at work. So I think that's another really big thing is people think they don't have time. Yeah. They think they don't have time, but in reality, it actually saves time. I personally find.
It's like this saying, the one of, if you don't have time, meditate. No, how is? If you have time, meditate 1 hour. If you don't have time, meditate 2 hours.
Exactly. I love that. Yes. I love that. Absolutely.
Nice. And so now, focusing more on family, like, because in Plain Camp, we have a strong sense of how to build a community, how to be together, especially with all this epidemic of loneliness, like people growing apart more like quicker, like the teenager locks himself in the room and then doesn't communicate with the family or with the mother, and it's like strangers in the same house. So what is the work that you are doing, how you're moving forward, how you're putting embodiment into these dynamics?
Right. So, for some of the values that I have to do this are bringing in, like you just said, living in the home, like strangers. Like for me, it's about in this family unit. And again, I work, my thing is expanding beyond the traditional family unit. So even if kids are living in 2 homes, so beyond physical space, how can we create a dynamic where relationship dynamic too, where the children are nurtured in a way that they're very supported to grow, they feel safe, but also the adults feel a sense of freedom, right? My whole thing is redefining freedom as an adult, like a parent or a teacher. How can you be free to also be yourself, use your gifts, serve, as in a way that benefits the children. And so with embodiment, I'm going to add one more thing, a couple more of my values before I go directly to embodiment is like why I'm bringing this forward. One of the things is also our gifts. I think in today's age, a lot of people can say feeling like a sense of purpose in what they do is very, very important. So how can we create homes where we support the kids to find their purpose? We support them. They don't even need to, they just need to reconnect to their purpose, but are we supporting them or are we pushing them into somewhere else? Right? So this all stems down to the relationships in the house. It all stems down to how we regulate our own nervous system, how we can see possibilities. A lot of times when we in a home are trying to control, parents are trying to control the kids, or it actually pushes the kids away. And many times when they're trying to control the kids, it's because they're in a state of stress and fear, right? So this is where embodiment comes in. This is where like the practices that I'm saying with stuff like this, embodiment practices and some other supportive practices. But the idea is, can we bring ourselves into emotional regulation? Can we see past the box of the traditional idea of what raising kids looks like, what a home looks like, but really see past beyond? And one of the big things is redefining that what the family unit looks like. There's a lot of divorced parents, a lot of single parents that now feel like things have fallen apart. But with these practices, it doesn't matter what your family unit looks like. The idea is we can still create harmony, support, nurture, freedom, empowering families, seeing limitless possibilities. But like we mentioned earlier, you can't come to these ideas, this freedom, this limitless potential, limitless possibilities when we are carrying so much stress and emotional blocks in our body. So the somatic work is there to clear the body, to allow the energy to flow, to allow you to see more possibility. And the beautiful thing I love about Play Camp is it, and other somatic practices, but Play Camp specifically, I feel like brings adults really brings them into their child, their inner child. And at this point, this is where I like to see the vision of Play Camp having families and kids and parents, because now we can relate to each other more. And yet we're all having fun. We're not playing a game we don't enjoy playing as adults. You know, how many times have you seen an adult take a car and play with their kid, but they're either on their phone or they're distracted somewhere else because they're not enjoying it? But in Play Camp, you know, with playful activities or dance and stuff like that, you're enjoying it and the kids can enjoy it. And now you can relate to each other and build relationships, connection, discuss possibilities, release emotions at this vibration, at this emotional, energetic state where you're all having fun and you're free and you're out from the mind and you're seeing possibilities. You know, do you understand when I say what I mean when I say with like possibilities? How we see more possibility when we are in a happy state than when we're upset, right? Than when we're stressed.
Yes, there is. I mean, I remember because it was one of the first studies in positive psychology that I got to know of, which was Barbara Fredrickson mentioning how positive emotions help broaden our perspective. And it's like perception. To the level of perception, positive emotions help people to see bigger pictures.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Suddenly now you see everything is not so bad. And, you know, I can actually manage this. There's actually a solution here. There's a nicer way to talk to my kid. I don't have to control them. It's not that big of a deal, you know, and it's relaxing and the child is happier too.
Yeah. And I totally, because I've heard this from parents, right? Like parents that have gone with their kids to Play Camp, and they, you know, for them it's many times it's like a click. You know, it's like I can do this anytime at any point, and I'm not doing it, and it's so easy, so simple. But at the same time, it's so much what you said. Like the parents, in many occasions, they are not present when they are with their kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things for me personally that I've learned. I have 3 children, and different age ranges, oldest being 12, youngest being 6. However, in this over a decade with the kids, I know one thing that the most impactful and supportive thing that really nurtures my children and other children that I've worked in, education. What really nurtures them, gives them safety, makes them feel loved, makes them feel their whole nervous system is just happy, is the depth of the quality of connection. It's not the amount of time. Time is great, by all means, but it's the quality. The quality is so important. I can spend 5-10 minutes with my child one-on-one, really speaking into their emotions or playing something with them that they feel my presence. And they will be much happier for the rest of the day than if I sat beside them and, just sat beside them or half talked, I wasn't fully present. It actually doesn't do anything for them. They're not happy. They actually feel what actually happens is sometimes it backfires. They actually feel, because now you're in front of them and you're not present, they don't feel seen. Children are very, very smart. They feel everything. It's actually more damaging to be there in front of the child and not present. I mean, obviously we're adults, we do stuff, but if they can have that connection at some point of the day, then at the other times, if you're doing things around them, it's fine. But if you're not making that time to connect, be fully present for some part of the day, they feel the absence a lot and they take it internally. It's like an emotional absence. So it's actually really, really, it's a really important thing. And one other thing that I was going to mention is how you said parents say, oh, I can do this at any time of the day. And I think that's for me, that's a huge important aspect of the work I do and what I'm bringing forward. And I see Play Camp being able to do is great. We can go to a retreat, right? I run retreats, you run retreats. But what's most powerful is that the parents can come back home and have something that they can use, right? So whatever they learn in Play Camp, a lot of the activities, they can go home and play it and they can use it and they're supported throughout. And same with the programs that I do. It's these toolkits. It's these resources that we can take home, and use on a daily basis. It's basically a new way of living, a new way of relating. It's beyond, come have fun at our events, but this is beyond that. It's beyond that. It's about taking it home, redefining the home, redefining relationships, redefining yourself, And I think that's where the heart of the vision, at least on my end, really lies, Yes.
I love it. I love it. And it's so important. And I'm going to throw some dating advice for the guys, the young guys. Because this is something that my coach mentioned as well. Is like something that a woman and a girl really appreciates is the presence of the man. And it's like, I am here with you and you are going through your emotional process, which can be joyful. Like if you are sharing something that you are happy that happened today, or it can be something that is painful for you, like a problem that you have with your boss or whatever. But I'm here with you. And I believe is that what the kids receive so deeply. Like, I'm here with you.
Yeah, for sure. Before I jump into the kids, I'm going to comment on that divine masculine pull. You got me there. It's beyond the presence. It's what happens is when a man is embodied in his body and through somatic practices has allowed himself to feel the range of emotions. Now, when we've experienced something, we can only go as deep with somebody else as we've been deep with ourselves. So a man that has gone through that and has learned how to be present and hold those emotions his own can now has the capacity to be that for a woman, to hold that pole, to hold that masculine essence and hold the range of her emotions and allow her to be safe. If he can't hold those emotions, she's not safe to fully express herself, right? And the more he can hold, the more she can express herself and allow herself to be free and, what's the word? I'm trying to find the word, but, surrender to the masculine. which is the dynamic of this beautiful union that we're all looking for. But anyway, you open the can of worms with dating and relationships. So that's my 2 cents there. And then coming back to children, I believe, yeah, similar thing. Of course, they feel the presence. They may not know how to articulate it quite like us adults, but they feel, and to be honest with you, I remember my childhood. I remember times where my parents were in front of me, but their minds were distracted. And it honestly, I had to heal that as an adult. I didn't even realize that as an adult, I was seeking this like reconciliation of something I experienced as a child. And that's where it came from, the lack of presence at that time. And so, I always want to still bring forth, yes, we cannot be present all the time. However, if we can make that quality, we can make that time. And then at the times that we're not present, we communicate to the children. But their cup is full already. You already gave them a dose of presence. And then you can say, right now, I'm kind of busy. I'm doing this or I'm doing that, to allow that freedom. However, if we can't ever be present, if we don't know what it's like to be present with ourselves, how can we give that to our kids? Right? And that's where all these practices come. We learn to be present with ourselves even deeper so that we can be that for our partners, for our friends, for our business partners, for our children.
Nice. I love it. I love it. The depth, and I have it here written. So the depth of quality of connection, that was super well said. And so then I have here like a dichotomy because I want to go more to, let's do first a bit of therapy. I'm going to write this. Okay, so because I sometimes I bring experts and I like to ask things about my personal life. So then I'm like, let's do some self-therapy. In the case of my family, like the role of my father is really clear. Like he has been a provider in the sense of, when we need something, he was there. Like we needed to go to athlete, like racing on the school. We had running and then he took us to running. Or when my brother was playing handball and my father was taking him to another village, which is like half an hour driving, and he was waiting on the car. So sometimes we had like conversations as adults, and I have told him like, you were not there emotionally. Like it's true, like you gave us facilities and you gave us resources to do the things that we love, but I don't feel that you were there emotionally. And for him, he claims to these episodes, like I was taking you to here. So, and just to contextualize, I believe that's his love language. His love language is service, act of service. So for him, he was loving us, but it wasn't our love language of reception, of receiving. So what do we do?
Yeah, and I think what this comes down to is the ability to feel what somebody else may be feeling. This is the awareness, and this is a big part of what I'm trying to bring forward with the work that I do is how can we understand our kids better? So, for example, beyond the embodiment work, some of the stuff that I do is creating is a toolkit for parents to quickly identify the main emotion that is preventing a child from the big things we want our kids to feel is happy, love.
Yeah.
Safety, usually it's either there, it tends to be there in a household or not, but on a daily basis, they can feel unloved or unhappy, right? This is like things that fluctuate throughout. So these two things, what I'm creating is a toolkit where parents can quickly identify what emotion is blocking the feeling of happiness or love to 100%, right? And so this is part of it. Part of it's the toolkit, yes, but it's also what happens is also the awareness, right? The toolkit is just there as an assistive device to strengthen it, but really it comes down to the awareness. So let's say your father was more knowledgeable of the importance of being aware. Then it's like you look into, okay, so what is my particular child experiencing? Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm doing this act of service and it feels very loving, but how is it being received by my child? right? How is it being received by my partner? That's a huge thing. We can give, but if we're not looking at, if we're not being aware of how our behaviors are impacting another or being received by another, how are we communicating? Not just words. How are we actually communicating, right? Our intention is to love the kid, but are they feeling loved? And if they're not, you're aware of it. Then you start questioning, okay, so what is my child's love language? And beyond that jargon, maybe we don't know what, like, back in the day when your dad was there, maybe we didn't know about love languages. But had he been aware, it would have been enough to just be like, I see my son's not happy. Let me talk to him. He's not feeling loved. What is it that you need? What can I give you more, right? It's just the seeking to feel, you're feeling, you're more aware. And this is where, and like I said, you can only go as deep as with somebody else as you've gone deep with yourself. So the more aware you are of your own feelings, of your what's happening, the more you can be aware of somebody else.
Nice. Yeah, and I love that you mentioned communication, because I remember hearing, communication is on the receiver of the message. And I believe love, at least with children, is on the receiver, which is the children. And that's what I heard you say, like, is my child feeling loved, accepted, respected, promoted, rewarded by what I'm doing for him? And the process of healing all my own things, to not project, like, to love my child as he wants to be loved, not as I wish I could have been loved.
Right. Yes. And I love that you mentioned project. I think what people don't realize, one aspect is what you just said. Very good. Like, am I loving my child the way they need, or am I loving them the way I wish I was loved, right? That's a huge part. And then there's something a little bit deeper that many people are not aware of, is that we can, like I mentioned earlier, how our presence will transmit something to the other person beyond words. We can actually project our wounds, our anger, our fear to a child, even when we're sitting there playing with them nicely. We're not trying to project. We're not angry with them. We could be angry we could have built up anger from our childhood, our teenagers, a relationship from 5 years ago, and we've held it in our body. What happens is that when you're in the presence of that child, you're not angry with the child. You're playing nicely with the child, but you're actually projecting on a somatic level. You're projecting anger on a child, and that child is receiving it subconsciously on a somatic level, on a subconscious level. So these are things that a lot of people are not aware of, and this is part of why I do the work I do, right? Because when you're doing mindset work, it's beautiful, it's up here. But when you're doing embodiment work, you're also clearing the emotional blocks in the body, right? So that you become this whole, like I said, coherent. Your body and your mind are coherent. So now not only are you integrated in what you've learned up here, but you're also transmitting an energy of peace, of, whatever all those beautiful things are. Not this person that's stressed and holding anger and anxiety from, all the past things because they haven't allowed it to come out of their body. And we don't want to project that onto kids. So there's projection, there's mental projection, right? Was you what you said, like, I'm doing what I think they want, but or what I wanted. I think, assuming they want what I wanted. Then there's verbal projection, where we're saying something to somebody that is not really relatable to them. And then there's a somatic projection, right? And that's what only somatic work and embodiment work can heal, that can change that.
I love it. I love the different levels of projection and how, the work you do. That's why that's why I'm doing as well this embodiment practice. It's like we are going to something that somehow cannot be fake. It's like you work on it, you did the work, you heal these parts of yourself or not, because they're going to manifest in a ways that are really difficult to be conscious of, but they are still perceived by people. I want to ask you more about the relationship with ourselves, and because you mentioned the depth of the quality of the connection. So more towards how can we heal this connection with ourselves so we stop projecting into people and we can be more at peace with who we are and connected with our gifts as well, I believe.
Yeah, I think first it takes the openness and willingness. And then the minute you've made that decision inside, I'm open and I'm willing right now to see what's actually happening, what I'm actually feeling, what are the blocks in my growth, right? Because all these emotional blocks, they prevent us from doing many things that we want, whether it's relationships, a financial gain, all sorts of things. So the openness and willingness, the minute you do that, something happens. Everything the way you think, everything changes and you start to see the truth of what's happening, And so that's the first thing. But then the second thing is allowing yourself to feel it. So once you've been open, allow yourself to feel it. What happens when we do the somatic work, breath work, movement, dance, it shakes the emotions up. Yeah, these blocks that have been sitting, sometimes they're in the organs and cause actually almost diseases ultimately stem from emotions in the body that are stuck in the body, right? I don't know if people have heard psychosomatic symptoms. It's the psychology moving into the body, creating illnesses, diseases, cancer, all sorts of illnesses. So basically, you've got these emotions stuck in different parts of the body and different organs. When we move, when we do breath, it starts to travel kind of like a trapped bubble. Now, the only way for it to be released is to go through the body and out. And at that point, you are feeling. Now, if you don't allow yourself to feel it, you suppress that bubble of emotion back into the body and it gets trapped. So what you need to do is allow yourself to feel it. Open and allow yourself to feel it. As you move, when initially, if you've got a lot of stress and emotion in the body, some people may experience this as, some people have had I don't know if you've been working with people in play camp, but I've seen it in my work where they'll have a huge release that they didn't even expect. Suddenly they're crying. They go from dancing to crying in their dance movement or in their breath work. And this is amazing. This is that trapped emotion maybe when you were 14 years old and, you got rejected by all your friends and you held it in your body, or whatever age, a horrible heartbreak or anything, and you're keeping it in your body and suddenly it's coming out and you don't even need to know what it was about. That's the difference between mindset work, right? Where we're starting to dive in, trying to figure out what we need, and somatic work that just moves things out and you just open and let it go. Sometimes we're laughing, we're crying, sometimes rage needs to come out and it's all okay. That's the other thing is all of that range of emotion is welcome. In my space, and I'm sure in your spaces as well, all of it is welcome. And that person has to also be open to have compassion and allow all of it to be free. That's all. It's actually quite simple. It's just trapped bubbles of emotion that we want to release. And through these movements and activities, they come up. And we just have to allow it to open. We have to allow it to leave. Yeah.
I love it. I love it because I study psychology on the university and then the master and the PhD. And psyche originally from Greek is like the soul. However, with all this tradition of scientific psychology, they were like the mind. Luckily, and it's funny for me because religion has been there all the time, and religion and rituals, they are all embodiment of the process of the community and the mind and the soul and the emotions connected and the wholeness and the divine. And now is that us, people like you and me that we work on embodiment, is like we need to do the rediscovery of, guys, we have a body, we feel emotions, and what you mentioned was so good. What I heard you saying, like, we don't need to intellectually and logically and consciously understand what we are releasing for that to get benefits into our lives. And it's like, and really, that's so good because it reminds me I went to a breathwork session and I started shouting, and I was shouting like for, I don't know, 15 minutes. But the more I shouted, the more I was like, fuck, this feels good. I mean, like, shouting, and the more it was like actually that, like just letting go. And then it was like, was this girl that rejected me? Was this exam that didn't go well? Was this teacher? Probably I don't care and I don't need to know.
It doesn't even matter at that point, you know? It's like, it doesn't matter. We don't have to know. We could try. We don't have to. That's where the simplicity comes.
Yeah.
Of this. And that's the beauty.
I love it. I love it because it, yeah. Well, now I'm talking too much, but it's like this Taoistic, because a lot of the playing camp, or at least my personal spiritual experience, comes from the Taoism, and how it is the simplicity of being and the joy on the admiration of the present experience that the language, the mind cannot conceal. And that's the first sense in the Tao. Like the Tao that can be pronounced is not the Tao. It's like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to put words in reality? It's like...
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I don't think there's a single person on this earth that will wholeheartedly in their state of peace say that simplicity is not the best way. Nobody. Anybody that wants anything complicated is probably trying to mask something, or run away from something. But in our essence, in the peace and love, our natural essence, simplicity is period.
I love
it's fun. Honestly, I find the thing with the play camp and like embodied dance, embodied movement, is we're having fun.
Yeah.
And then there's the social aspect that actually, that's one of the things that I really love about play camp specifically, is the social aspect. We are now playing with other people together in groups or against each other, whatever. It doesn't, but we are seeing each other have fun. We are seeing each other, doing these, it's like a bonding moment. It's a socializing. It's not just healing. People are tired of healing. So many people are tired of hearing the word healing, and to be honest with you, there's an aspect where I'm moving away from using the word healing, because we're growing, period. There's no, otherwise we're forever trying to heal until the day we die. We're growing. It's this aspect of love life, live life, stop worrying about being in this I need to heal situation, And this is where I like to spin it and say we're growing. We're having fun. We're living life. We're being present. And that's where stuff like this, like play camp, is like, we're doing the work, but we're not calling it work. We're calling it play. And that's what we need more of today. We need to play more. That's the spin that I love now, moving away from therapy, traditional therapy, where you sit on that couch in a room and you keep going and here's the best part. You keep circling with the same problem for the next 10 years and see the same therapist. What is that? We're way past that old traditional model. Way past that. What you and I are doing and other people around is bringing a shift in the way that we see all this, from healing to growth, from therapy to play, socializing, like embracing the fullness of life, the lightness of life. Anyway, we're getting quite philosophical and deep. But in the look at what's holding all of this is this idea, this framework of seeing life differently. It's what you're bringing forward, Carlos, when you do play camp. You're bringing forward this philosophy of life. And with the work that I'm doing with families is the same thing. I want people happy homes that are infused with unconditional love and play and fun, right?
I love it so much. The funny is, all this conversation, I could be talking for hours. But at least one thing that appeared on my mind was there is this thing of speak out your mind. And I have also heard the shake it out or tap it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using the play it out. Just play. Just if you have a problem,
Yeah.
Play for a while, but just play it out. Play it out. The problem body.
I really love that. Yeah, you totally should play it out. Absolutely, because that's what you're doing.
And I also connected with the equation of value, which is this guy, Alex Hormozzi. He's getting pretty big into the business side. And he speaks about getting the desired result, which in this case is like you are going to transform your relationships, you are going to transform your own understanding of your emotions. Guarantee perception of the result is like if you do it, you will experience it. You know that you are going to get there once you try. Like just give it a go to the breath work, to the shaking, to the play. And then the equation is divided by how effortful it's the experience. And in the case of play, it's like, brother, just go to the park with other people, play. You will see how quickly it gets. It's like zero effort, zero sacrifice. And the amount of time that it takes for these embodiment practices. It's like, come on, you do breath work for 30 minutes, your state of consciousness is different. It's like
in 5-10 minutes, it already starts to shift. You know, 30 minutes, you're seeing visions of your 10-year vision of your business. You know, a whole different story. But yeah, even if you throw in that 5 minutes of breath work a couple times a day, you're already emotionally regulated and calm and creating a calm environment in your life. I'm going to add this one really important point as a parent. One of the most pivotal things I've found out of every single tool as a parent, the most impactful thing was my state. If I am calm, emotionally regulated, even if my kids come back from school and they're like this with their everything that's happening, what happens is I'm here and naturally they start to go like this. And we create harmony in the house, harmony with each other. But if I am anxious, stressed, what happens? We're just we bang into each other and it becomes not a very great day, you know? And so nowadays, one of the biggest tools I first go to is regulate myself. And I dance almost every day. Literally, I do breath work and I dance almost every day. I love it, actually. I pick dance out of all of them because that, for me personally, is what I love doing from most of the somatic work. But I mean, in play camp, there's so many different activities you can pick from to do.
Yeah, nice. Nihal, I like to ask this couple of questions towards the end of the podcast. If you had in front of you your inner girl, little girl, your inner child, what could you tell her today?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you asked that because it's going to sound like I'm doing this on purpose right now, but I'm not. It's because I've thought of this before. Somebody actually asked me this 2 days ago and I said, play more. I said, play more. I know it's ironic, but the fact is, that is what I'm embracing now. There's just like too much seriousness. And I could see the times of my life where I took things too serious, as though that's it. It's the end. And then life changes things. Solutions come. The problem is no longer there. The lightness of life. So I think if I could go back, I would just be like, don't be so serious. Be light and literally play more. You know, and that's what I'm embracing. Maybe that's why we're chatting here today. My philosophy now is play more everywhere. Everywhere. Take life and be playful with all of it. The business, the relationships, light, easy. Things can change. In the difficult times, it's like a knot. It can be unraveled, you know? But if we're serious, all we do is we take that knot and we tighten it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens when you have a rope kind of coming together and you stay light? It can also come apart easily. But if you get all stressed, it becomes a very tight knot.
Yeah. So then that's what you could say to your inner child, but what the inner child is telling to you.
Ooh, very nice. Okay. Okay. I need to listen. For me personally, what I'd hear is, thank you, I'm proud of you. Thank you. I am proud of you for choosing this way of living and sharing it with others. That was a really nice question. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Nihal. Nihal, where can people find more from you? Like, imagine like a parent is listening to this conversation and he's like, okay, I want to work with Nihal. Please help me to improve this relationship with my kids. Where do we send them?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram handle, Nihal.Kindy. I think you might have it on under there.
Yeah.
Right now I've got that. And you can message me. What's coming up is a lot of beautiful programs for families, for parents, for kids, and honestly for adults as well, because I am an embodiment coach first, and the parenting and family one is a branch of what I do, embodiment. So yeah, Instagram for now is the best place to reach me.
Nice. I love it. And I find it so important what you're doing. So guys, it's on the description, on the comments. Check it out, reach out. It's so important. And do you have any last message that you would like to tell to these parents that are listening?
Oh, yes, yes. That anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible. And the amount of support and love that is in the world, you just need to look in the right direction. Like, I live my purpose to support and to share this. Will never call myself an expert in anything in life. However, I have had experiences and I have had beautiful outcomes. And my thing here is to share this with people. So if I'm coming in, I know the level of love and support I have. If I'm coming in, I'm not the only one out there. You're not the only one out there. And it's just being able to know that there is light when we feel stuck. There are resources, and there are people that have dedicated their lives to helping, to serving, to building these beautiful communities where we can grow in this desirable way and connect and feel supported.
I love it, Nihal. I love it so much. Thank you. This has been an amazing conversation. We have learned so much about embodiment practices, like what is the effect of embodiment in our own system, in our emotions, in how we process the things around us, in how we interact with each other, and how we are transmitting this, even if it's unconsciousness, because it goes deeper. It's something we cannot fake. It's either we process this or then we are carrying it with us. And how to start building healthier families where we are supporting our kids, where we are present with them, when we go deep into the connection and the quality of the connection that we have with them, with ourselves, also in the work environment, in the families, especially with our kids that are so vulnerable and they are feeling so much. I mean, they are feeling beings. We have learned so much of how to process all these emotions and how to be more playful, to play it out, to let it go, and to raise our vibration into creating a society and communities that are thriving, that are supported, and that are living from their gifts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it. And yep, let's hold on to that. Play it out. I love that. Play it out.
Total pleasure. And guys, stay tuned because Nihal and me, we are cooking things together. So soon, if you are a parent and you have a family, check Nihal, check Playing Camp, because we will be offering something super cool for you and the rest of the members of your family. So you can play it out, heal all these things, grow amazingly, and enjoy an incredible life with your family and your loved ones. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.